I have a confession.
Tell me everything.
All right. So I am doing this podcast today with a migraine. So if I am not as sparkly as usual, that is the reason. But this podcast is crazy important. And what we're talking about today is also crazy, crazy important. So we're all going to be here. And I'm on lots of drugs. So it's worth it.
We're all showing up the best that we can. I have cramps. Does that count for anything?
It does. And I don't know if you're a dude listening to this, because I think we primarily have women. So if you ever have cramps, we're sorry, because we've all worked through them.
I mean, that's the thing too. It's like you have pain, your brain is exploding, your uterus is on fire, and you show up anyways.
It's 100% true. This is what we do. We're women, and we tough it out. It's you know so that thing that you play through the pain. We just do it. We work through the pain. We do all of it. That's how it is.
Just take a breath.
Yeah, man. My eyeballs are coming out of my brain right now. All right. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Sybil Solon. I'm an esthetician and spa owner.
And hi, I'm Alex Ellis. I'm a body nerd and wellness expert, and we are business besties.
And bosses. Running your own business, it's hard.
But we're terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
I've already figured it all out, but we promise to help you make six figures and beyond.
And be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks.
Oh my God, so much of it totally sucks, like sitting here right now with a migraine.
How many migraines have you worked through?
So many, not puking ones. So if I'm puking, hell no. But so many. Luckily, we work in dark studios, so it's a little bit easier.
That is true. Welcome back to Skinfessional. Today's show, as Sybil said, is super important. We were talking about your hustle, and specifically if your hustle is attached to money and what's going to happen from that.
And not getting caught up in six-figure success traps.
Mm-hmm. Which is, you're like, wait a minute, didn't you talk about the six-figure success trap at the beginning of the show? Yes, we did. But we're going to talk about all of this. And also all the times you show up to do your job when you'd rather be dead, like that happens.
It's true. So this actually came about because Alex, you sent me essentially a text being like, oh my God, six figures, it's a lie.
Yeah, well, here, let me read it to you because that's acted out. So this comes from Rachel Turner, who you may remember we talked about her a few episodes back. I just read her book, Human First, and it's just really, the wheels are a-turning in my head and in my heart. So she posted on her Instagram, just because you don't want a 6 or 7 figure business doesn't mean you have a money block. Sure, you might have trauma, but let's not get caught up in the idea that your success is 6 figures or needs to be. There are other measures of success than doing the most. So I sent this to you because I was just like, whoa,
right.
Let's talk about this.
Right. And I got like, I waited a beat and I was just like, my response to it initially was like, hell no. And then I was like, no. What she's saying is absolutely true. It's not always about the money. The money comes with success, but it's not always the goal to the success, which is what she's actually saying. But then like I got like all sweaty and clammy and weird because I was like, but you need to think about money as a business owner because, you have to make money. Otherwise, you can't pay your bills.
Right.
Bills.
They keep coming.
Right. But the messaging is, for so many people, is if you're not making 6 figures, you're not successful. You're a fucking loser.
Yeah.
And that's not actually the truth.
I think it's even now like 7 and 8 figures is like what people are talking about, which is just like so fucking ridiculous. And I remember too, I sent this to you and your first response was kind of like, well, you're just not doing it right if you're not. And I was like, wait.
But then I was like, I bet like Amazon people, like, Bezos is like, you're 6 figures, whatever.
Yeah. He's like, I have my 600 figures. What do you guys say about that? Well, this also, I feel like it was like in the astrology or the numerology or something for like 2020. And like, we're in this phase of like uncovering a lot of stuff. And I like to think that I'm not the only person who is realizing that so much of what I thought to be true and right and real is like all a fucking lie.
Right.
Yeah. And so the concept of a 6-figure income being like, when you reach this level, when you reach $1 million, then suddenly you become a badass or a queen or
you've made it. You made it. The golden curtain's open.
Yes.
And they're like,
Yes.
Right.
And then let's layer in manifestation on top of that. So make sure you're dreaming about what that future would be like and who you have to become and like what that's going to mean for you. And when you're coming from a place of desperation, right? I just want this to work. I just want to, I mean, honestly, had I said, I just want to be able to pay my bills, would have been just as much, motivation, but no, we're thinking about the 6 figures and getting to the 6 figures and you've got to get there. You've got to get there. But like, what happens too, if you don't?
Right. So I think what this comes down to is the idea of what motivates you.
Mm-hmm.
So what motivates you to be successful in your business?
Mm-hmm.
And what goals do you need to set to be successful? Mm-hmm. And I know for me that I've literally taught classes where I'm like, my goal is to help you make money. And people have been like, well, I don't really care about making money. I just want my clients to be happy. Because they don't need to make money. They have this, their husband makes a bunch of money and this is like their pet project. And I'm always like, for me, I'm like, well, that must be really nice for you. That's not my life.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people also say that about like, well, it's not about the money for me. I'm just here to like help people, because we've been so shamed into thinking that like actually wanting wealth is selfish or greedy, or how can you want so much when you already have so much, Or at least, I mean, that's how I felt.
Very good point. I mean, very good point. And that, once again, that would be like a money block.
Well, okay. I also feel like the whole concept of money blocks too are weaponized.
They are weaponized.
Yeah. That then the reason you're not successful is because you have these money blocks. It's all your fault. And like, that's literally been told to me before.
Right. So notice that I've literally never talked about a money block as like, this is blocking your success to making money. For me, I'm always like, okay, well, the reason why you're not making money is because it's generally because you're not thinking about your goals, you're not strategizing correctly, or it's not really a money block. It's just, we do have things inside of us that stop us from, I wouldn't say it's a block. It stops us from letting us think outside of how we think about money, right? And people call that a money block, but I'm just like, that's just how we're programmed.
Yeah.
And so we just go like, because we all have them. We all have them. Everybody has them. We've talked about it a million times. And for me, I've just always been like, okay, once I know that that's how I think, I just say, CEO Sybil, person, put on my little hat. CEO Sybil says, you don't get to think like that in the studio. You get to think like the person who sells things. And therefore that's not your problem. Your problem is you have a goal. Your goal is to sell one product to every single person today. And that's the goal. And that you just work through that block because your goal is you're just trying to sell a product to every single person. So
I feel like as a highly emotional person, like that never worked for me, And I said, and I've talked about this before as well. I had an offer that was like, let's say $1,200 a month membership and like high level coaching and classes and like all that stuff. And I got on the phone with like 54 people and tried to sell it to them. And my goal was to close every single person I talked to. And instead I got off the phone feeling like literal trash, in tears multiple times because like the offer wasn't right.
Right. But that's correct. The offer wasn't right for you.
Right. But for people, like literally people then told me, oh, your money blocks, like, it's just your money blocks. When really it's like the offer isn't right. Like, what is the subconscious, like, how are you showing up because of how you've always showed up in your life, And just like, there's so many more layers to like who we are as people. And to just be like, well, 6 figures or bust, I feel like completely ignores who you are as a whole entire person. So for me, these last like 4 months, deep work, because I feel like, I can solve some of my blocks about my business, but those are just like the entry level things sitting on top of the deep programming from like family of origin.
Right.
And so I'm like, I feel great about my business. I feel shit about my personal life, So it's just like, I feel like this is an entry place to get in, but also I guess what I'm just trying to say is like, there's so much, it's so deep. And if you're also like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, like, you're not alone.
You're not alone. You're not alone. So the other thing is, Alex, how did you finally decide like what offer felt right for you? How did you decide? Because before you were like, okay, you're like, it's not me, it's them, right? How did you reach that point? It's not me, it's them.
Right. How did I get there?
How did you get to that point?
Not trusting myself and not trusting that I know my business. Mm-hmm. I know myself and like how I want to show up. I know the type of people I want to work with. And trusting that nobody, no matter how much money you pay them, is ever going to know your business like you do. And so when I started trusting myself and like finding my own voice again, it was easier to be like, does that feel right? Like, is that in alignment with like what I actually want to do? Do I really want to show up live every week and teach a class? No, I don't. I don't want to. So once I like landed, because I remember too, I was like, well, I want to do this and this and this and this. And then there was another person in the room. It was actually Kim Bennett. Shout out to Kim. Love you, Kim.
Woo, we love you, Kim.
And she was like listening to me talk, like, well, why don't you do this? And like, this would combine all the things you talked about that you like and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh my God, that feels so much better. So I think that trust and that intuition and like how things feel, which is like still super, super emotional. But like, if you feel like you're constantly pushing a boulder uphill every single day with this offer, with this product, with whatever you're trying to do, like pause, take a step back and like really think about it.
So what is the difference between somebody who is talking to me and they're like, I just don't like selling. I don't like selling anything. I don't like selling. I think that selling's wrong. To somebody who is where, I would go to them and be like, well, one of the things you should be doing, you should be selling, because selling makes you money. And it's something that will increase your sales and business without you having to work on somebody constantly. Right. And if they're like, I just don't like it, I think it's skeezy and it freaks me out. My gut says no. What is the difference between somebody like me saying, girl, I want you to try it and see what happens, to trusting their gut? Like, where is the line?
What's the steps between
where's
that?
The line? How do you get there? Because it is something, there are so many people who selling is hard. And I think a lot of people know that they want to do it, but they just feel so uncomfortable. And I mean, I know that I've been told, and I think there's different ways to sell. I mean, I've been told like, you have to just give them all the product, or like you have to do all the thing. And I'm like, that's not my way. I just don't feel comfortable doing that. So I sell my own way. But there's a difference, I think, there's a line, right? Between like, yes, everyone should probably try to be making an offer. So I want you all to listen. Everyone should probably be making an offer of some sort. You just have to find the way you do it.
Yeah. I think for me, it came down to like having a thing that I was like in love with, that I was really excited about, that like I knew was actually going to make a difference. Because also think of how many times you've come across a person who's selling something that solves your problem. Like I just signed up for a bookkeeping coach. So she's not my bookkeeper, but anytime I have a question, I can ask her and she like teaches me how to do QuickBooks. That is literally the best money I have ever spent in my life. And I'm so grateful that she said, here's my offer. Like, come on and buy it.
Right.
And so just think like what you do, you got to be in love with it. And if you're not, like, figure it out, like change it up, do what you need to do to like allow yourself to be so freaking excited and stoked about it. So that when somebody comes, you're like, oh my God, I could totally help you with that. Like, and here's how, and this is gonna be so great for you. And then also when they say no thanks or now's not a good time, no problem. And it's not personal.
That is correct. Okay. Alex has said exactly what I wanted her to say. She's so good at these things for us. She's so good. So that is the key. So finding the thing, I think there are three primary things when we feel kind of like shame, when we feel bad, when we have this attachment to, not doing the right thing. And I think a lot of it is the fact that we are selling something we don't like, that we're pushing something on somebody that we don't believe in, that we don't trust it. We don't trust ourselves. Now, Alex had an offer that she did believe in. Her 12, what was it? 12?
It's like $1,200.
$1,200 offer. You did believe in it. You're like, no, this is a great offer. But there was probably a part of you that was like, but I could probably do something for smaller amounts and do great work. And
well, there was a part of me too, like, here's like where I think it kind of gets tricky, which is also what I'm saying about like what you're working on is not just about your business. It's about like deep shit too.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that's like, I would never pay for this. Never, and so like, even if I'm like not thinking about that when I'm on the phone, like that's coming through. Whereas now with my membership and the price that I'm at, it's not for me right now, but I could totally see myself valuing it and paying for it for the value that I bring for people. And even with all of that, I'm just going to say too, I never feel like I'm doing enough. So
no, it's true. It's true. And that's how you should always feel. Like I always tell people, I sell very expensive facials. I sell very expensive product. And yet I 100% believe in it. My facials are amazing. And I believe in every single person who comes through my door that I'm going to give them an experience that's going to change their lives. And that's my goal. I 100% believe that I'm going to give them an experience that is going to change their lives. That is my goal. So when they leave, they think to themselves, my life has changed. I look better. I feel better. I want to do that. I want to share that with everybody in my life. And so if you aren't doing that for your clients, then you have to look at yourself and think, I want to do that. And I think that the hardest thing as people who work with people is knowing that you have to kind of stick that line but still keep energy to yourself.
Yeah, like not give it all away.
Yeah.
To them, yeah.
And that's harder. So for you, because I know you just said you said I don't ever give enough.
Well, where do I begin? I mean, also we started this conversation, as we were preparing, wanting to talk about burnout. Right. And like what burnout is. And if you're like, I don't really know. For me, burnout was May of 2020 because I was like, oh my God, we're on lockdown. I don't have to go anywhere. I can just work all the time. This is so great. Okay. I need to do one more thing. I'm not done yet. Let me do one more thing. And if there's no goalpost for you to say, this is enough, then guess what? You're never going to get there. Right. Like, plain as that. And I was in this like Clubhouse chat, and I don't think I've been on Clubhouse since then. And this guy was just talking about like values, and I mean, I don't think he was talking about worthiness, but that's where it landed for me. Right. Of like, what are your values? Because I think we lose sight sometimes that like my business could like go bankrupt today, and like I would still exist as a person. Like I am my business, but I'm not my business.
Right.
and like almost like divorcing yourself from that is very helpful. But then thinking about like, what are your values? What means the most to you? Like, what is the thing that when it's there, you are like having the best time of your life? And for me, that's fun. And one of the things that I wrote down after that talk was, as long as I'm having fun, I'm doing it right. And finding that fun can even happen like in the bookkeeping, which is like, I freaking hate math, y'all. But now I'm like, oh, but I get to ask Courtney a question, and like, I'm figuring this out. And like, I really like that figuring out part. Right. So whenever I feel myself getting sucked into that trap of like, this isn't enough, I'm not showing up enough, I'm not doing enough, like this isn't good enough, I'm like, whoa, but are you having fun? Oh, yeah. That part was really fun. Okay, then we're doing it right. Then it's enough, and I can close up shop and walk away. Mm-hmm. But I think finding that value is super important.
It is. And it keeps you motivated. So one of the things that when we started talking about this is I had gone into a bunch of aesthetic groups, and somebody had asked about like, what keeps you from burnout? And that's what started this. And there were three main things for estheticians who had done it 20 plus years. And it was to set boundaries.
Yeah.
Set boundaries, whether it's how many hours you work, clientele that you take on, family stuff, whatever, setting boundaries. And we've had lots of conversations on Skinfessional about boundaries and setting boundaries and how to do that. It was making sure that you don't work too many hours, because if you work too many hours, you'll just explode, and you have to decide that. And making sure you do make enough money that you can pay yourself, but not setting your worth on money. And we just talked about that as well.
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself when I read all those things that as somebody who has also experienced burnout, like straight up, like I have lost that loving feeling. We had an episode about that. I've lost it. And I love what I do. I love changing people's lives with my hands. I love it. But I truly believe when I talk to an esthetician, they're like, oh, I've never had burnout. I'm like, are you a liar, pants on fire? Like for real? Because I think at any point in time, at some point, you're going to look at your job and just be like,
this kind of sucks right now.
Yeah. Like this is for reals. I can't do this. Even if it's just because you had a really bad day.
Yeah. Well, I feel like even acknowledging that you've had burnout is like acknowledging that like something's wrong, which I think is really hard for people who are like so needing to have everything together,
I mean, perhaps, I don't know. As you say, I'm an alien all the time. I'm like, I'm the first person to be like, hi, everybody's going to burn out in 10 years. Like if you haven't, you will. You're going to burn out. At the 10-year mark, you are going to probably flame out, and it's normal.
Yeah.
The best way to do it is just to keep learning and evolving. Just evolve constantly. It will help you not burn out.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to ask about hours, because one thing that, as long as I've known you, you work the hours where people are free, right? Yeah. So super late.
Yep.
You skip meals because you're working so hard. Yep. You work all the weekends. Yep. But I also, well, actually, let me answer that for me. So like, how do you keep yourself from getting angry with that schedule?
I mean, we had a whole episode once about being a workaholic. And I think that some of it is just, I'm a workaholic. Like I do love what I do. So when I go into work and I work all those hours and I do all the things, I'm not working. I'm having fun. I am playing. I also make sure that I do schedule fun into my life. So I pre-schedule, like I'm going to go on vacation. I have that planned like a year to 2 years in advance. So I know when I'm going on vacation, and I play hard.
You do like a serious vacation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I play hard. I take 6 to 8 weeks vacation every year. And it's not like, 2 days. It's 3 weeks on a cruise to like,
Tahiti, literally.
Yeah, Tahiti. Like I'm going somewhere, I'm having a good time, and I don't check fully out. I still check my emails and stuff, but everybody knows I'm on vacation. I'm just like, hey, I'm on vacay. If I don't get to you right away, too bad. But I will try to check in. And then meals, I mean, that's a personal choice. I've just found over the years it's worthless to try to book meals. It's just worthless. So I just don't.
So funny.
Yeah. But my clients have learned to feed me. So that's lovely. I love them so much. And late hours, I just acclimated over the years to do that. In fact, so my newest business is I'm working Sundays and Mondays, one day a month. And I tried to work my Monday, I tried to work like, a 9 to like 7. And I couldn't get anybody in those slots. So now I'm working like 2 to like midnight, completely full. Completely full. But I have to pack up my shop completely. So I have to pack everything up and clean the room. So I'll be there till like 2 a.m.
Right. Interesting.
Right? And it's just how it's going to be.
Okay. It's how it's going to be. I want to ask you also, because I was going to bring up the vacation, but I'm glad you brought it up, because it's true. This is what I see is you work super, super hard, but then you also take these long vacations where it's like, I've been on a cruise too. You are forced to unwind because you're like in the middle of the ocean. There's like nothing else to do and the Wi-Fi's crap. So my question for you is, what do you do when you're working super hard and all that stuff and you literally don't have money to do vacations like that?
Yes. So when I was poor and I didn't make a 6-figure income, I would instead do like very inexpensive staycations where I would take myself, and I don't camp, so it's not camping. You could totally camp. If you're I love to camp, go camp. I'm not a camper, so that's not my thing. But I am a travel hacker. So as a business owner, we run a ton of money through credit cards. So much money through credit cards. And so you can use those credit cards to get points. And I would do like a staycation at a hotel and just stay at a hotel on my points and like, be like, I'm shutting down. And because I have to escape, I have to get somewhere where it's not my office. And so even if that staycation was San Diego, the glorious San Diego, Las Vegas, I'm away from my office. Because otherwise somebody's like, can you just please see me? I'm like, oh, okay, I'll come in today because I'm in LA.
Oh, but that's boundaries. That's boundaries. Okay, so I have some ideas too, because I'm like, I was so broke I couldn't even do that. Boundaries of like being at home, right? Of just saying like, cool, for just today, I'm gonna just sit here and like watch TV. And I think for those of us who are just starting out on this journey, aka this girl right here, like I did this yesterday. I was home, and I mean, there's always something you can do. Always like businessy, right? And I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to watch my one program because that's all I feel comfortable with right now, doing one program without doing stuff. But I'm just going to watch it, and it's going to be okay. That there's not time wasted because I'm doing nothing. Like, I think there's also this undercurrent of like that rest is lazy.
No.
So I think, start with like the one program. I'm still building up to a day of being at home. Last time I did this, I just watched, what was it? Not Love Island, Too Hot to Handle on Netflix. Such trash. It was so much fun. Loved it.
The last time I did watch all of Bridgerton. So I watched an entire show of Bridgerton.
Yes.
So I will be straight with you. It's very hard for me when I'm home to consider myself on vacation because there's also always home things for me to do. Yeah. So yes, maybe I'm not doing work things, but I'm like, oh, well, you know what? I have this home project that I could be doing. I could be cleaning like all of this. I could be reorganizing this closet. And then that's not vacation for me either. And so I do have to, for myself, kind of escape.
Yeah.
But I have spent time where I'm just like, well, I'm not answering. The key to not working on is to actually just not check your email.
Oh, of course.
That is the key. Everyone, the secret is to not check your email and not get on social.
No. Also, newsflash, not a single one of us is a surgeon. Nobody's going to die.
No one's going to die.
Because you didn't check your email.
No one's going to die. No one's going to die. If you take a day or two off, nothing's going to happen. They're all going to wait. It's going to be fine. Everyone's going to be fine. Especially if you've told them in advance. It's not your fault if they're stupid and they can't remember that you're gone.
No, they'll be fine. But I think that's some ideas too of like actually unplugging. For us, Anthony and I, like, super grateful that, we have family friends who have a beach house, that we go stay at. That's free. That there's always like Airbnbs also that can be super inexpensive, or even like meeting up with friends in an Airbnb makes it even less expensive.
Right.
So I think there's ways to do it, but I do think that the anticipation of something, and like there's research to back this up, the anticipation is more exciting than the damn thing.
Yeah, the planning. So there's been tons of research that planning a vacation is actually better than the vacation itself. Yeah. Which is why I plan out vacations like 2 years in advance. And sometimes I cancel that vacation, but I still have the joy of planning it.
I think, that's so important to have something to look forward to, even if it's just like super small. And like I shared this on social, I don't know about time anymore, but recently about like my boba Sundays, where I get boba every Sunday. And on Tuesday, when I'm like, God, this week is like just dragging and this is really hard and I don't want to be doing this, I'm like, but I'm getting boba on Sunday. And that's what like pulls me through. And so like, that's like a small version of this anticipation. But it's super important to have something that you look forward to. Also, right now, I'm saving up for a mattress and I have never been so happy in my life. What the fuck is wrong with me?
That's amazing. Also, if anybody wants to learn how to make boba, you can follow my feed. I have lots of recipes and I make boba like almost every day. I make beauty boba. So you don't have to go buy it. You can just make it yourself.
Oh no, but I like buying it because then I get
I understand. I enjoy buying things too, but like you should so definitely have boba more than just on Sunday.
Oh, I know. There's days I want it more and I'm like,
Alex, she makes smoothies pretty much every day. So you can follow her for her smoothie recipes.
Although, so this is helpful too. In a time of stress, right? Simplification of things. So like, instead of thinking of like a different smoothie to make every time, I've literally started making the same smoothie, like so basic, like literally just oat milk, banana, protein powder, and like some super green powder. And that's it. And it's really good.
Yeah, why not?
But it's like, I think sometimes we get so tied into like the specifics of what something has to be when really the bigger picture is like not that one thing. Like it's not the smoothie. It's like, oh, I'm nourishing myself and I'm going to get some quick fuel in, and like, that's okay. So I guess lowering the bar as to what something has to be for it to quote unquote count can be really, really helpful.
It's totally true. It's totally true. It's important that we just do the things we need to do to take care of ourselves and not equate it to anything. Just be like, I'm taking care of myself. I'm nurturing myself. And that's all that has to happen. That's it.
Yeah. I'm realizing like, oh wait, we got way off track of our 6-figure thing. So I want to just pull it back real fast too.
Well, I mean, I will say that when I just looked at our thing, I'm like, well, so much of this has to do with worth. And the 6 figures, when we talked about it, was so much about your goal setting and worth. Right. So we had talked about the fact that when people were talking about the fact that, your 6 figures, oh, well, the reason why I'm trying to make 6 figures is because I'm worthy. I'm worth this. And it's something that I'm worth. And I'm like, well, you're probably worth even more than that. You're worth, it's not about what you're worth. So much of the 6 figures for me is just a goal. It's a goal you're setting. So you have to think about what your goals are. Are your goals, I'm trying to be able to go on vacation? Am I trying to have enough money to buy a mattress? Am I just trying to pay my rent and then a little? Am I trying to just pay my bills? Is it this year my goal is I'm just trying to break even, which was, by the way, my first goal in my business was I was just trying to break even. And so when I made $10,000, I was like, sweet, that's amazing. I'm so excited. I wasn't trying to make 6 figures my very first year in business. I was trying to make $10,000, all I wanted to make. I was super psyched. I was pumped. I was like, sweet, I'm in the black.
Well, for me, it was money always had, I felt like I was such a fuck up around money. So for the longest time, I didn't talk about or look at my numbers and money. And those of you who have been with us for now 70 episodes have heard that growth. So I feel like things would have been different had I started in a place that was less emotional about money, but also we're here now. Woohoo! Right. So I think, honoring where you're at, If you want to make 6 figures, if you want to make 7 figures, like, to be honest, I don't want a 7-figure business. I don't want to run a huge team and have to be a manager like that. I want to be bigger than I am right now. Like, my next goal is really to serve 100 people in my membership. And when I get there, I'm like, cool, I'm probably going to set another goal from there. But like, it doesn't make you greedy or selfish or wrong to like want to make more money. Like, we live in a capitalist society. Like, this is how it goes,
right?
You know, like, that's totally fine. And our ideas about selling and like what that means have so much to do with like the greasy car salesman idea, you know, but I have a thing and I know my thing can help you. And I know that when you learn how to do this, it's going to unlock so many doors for you to be able to step into the life that you want because you're no longer experiencing pain. And to not share that is almost more selfish than wanting to make money, I think.
I agree. One of our amazing episodes was with the Wax Queen, and she talks about how sales are so important because they are providing a service to your clients. They are giving them something that they need. And if you're not doing that, somebody else down the street is going to, and they might not be doing it ethically. They might not be giving them what they actually need. And they're definitely not going to be doing it with you and your intention. And it is something that has always stuck with me because she, as we discovered, has taught me everything I know about selling.
Me too.
Right? And she's incredible. And so I always keep that in my mind when I know that I'm creating an offer or I'm making a sale, is that, you know, I'm not pushing a product. I'm not selling this thing so that I can make money today. I'm selling this thing, yes, because I'm going to make money. That's helping me. But ultimately, I need to help the person I'm talking to. I want them genuinely to be better. Right? Alex, you sell something that you genuinely believe in. You think that it's going to change people's lives.
I know it will.
That's right. You're like, oh my God, you're going to use this. It's going to change your life. You clearly are seeing me. You're reading the thing because I'm going to change your life. And if you don't want to have your life changed, then you can go down the street and keep looking for whatever. And that's fine. You're not my client.
Also, can we just, for a minute, the people who don't follow your advice, even though they're paying you the money, and you're like, can you just do what I told you to do? Stop overcomplicating it. Like, please.
Yeah. Well, you know, some people, it's hard. They don't really, they have to do work. What? See, people just put on a cream. If they do put on the cream, and then, you know, maybe.
It's so true. They're like, well, it's not enough. And I'm like, it is enough. Trust me. I made it that way.
Maybe.
Part of my water bottle came off.
Oh my gosh. Alex is going to drown herself with her water. It's possible. Final thing I just wanted to make sure we touch on about kind of when you're setting your goals, whether 6 figures is what's important to you, because I still truly believe that as a business owner, you do need to be looking towards your money.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really one of the things when Alex sent me the thing, she goes, oh, we don't need to have 6 figures. I was like, no, we 100% need to have 6 figures. Well, maybe we don't need to have 6 figures, but we do need to make sure that we are covering our bills and that we are looking towards success of making income. So I still like to think that you all deserve to have 6 figures or more. But yeah, when you said, I never wanted to run $1 million company, yeah, me neither. When people would look at me and like, you don't have enough time. You should get more people. You should run a spa. I feel like I don't want to run people. I don't need more than this. I'm happy just as I am. I always knew that was something that I didn't want to do. I never wanted to run a spa. I never wanted to say, I said own people. I never want to own people and like run people.
No, I don't want to be a boss in that capacity. It's
so
that's not fun to me.
Yeah, it's so complicated, and I don't like working with people enough to want to do that. No. And even as I've transitioned my business and I look to the future of what I'm doing now, I still, I have all these people who are like, well, what you need to do is you need to be like running like a bigger company. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably not what I'm looking at. Cause I like to work with people. I like to work one-on-one with people. I like to like talk to people. Whereas Alex, like, I don't really like to work one-on-one. I don't like to talk to people.
I mean, I do like to talk to people, but on my terms is what I really like.
Right. But not as much. I actually do like to talk to people. I like to work one-on-one with people. And that's something that as every time somebody has talked to me and they're like, so what you need to do is you need to automate further so that you don't have to interact with people. I'm like, but I like to interact with people. Mm-hmm. So that's something that will probably continue with me. There's a bunch of ways that I will continue to not interact with people because automation is good. Mm-hmm. But you have to you have to look at your business and decide what is right for you. Yeah. I have a very clear idea of what's right for me. Alex has a very clear idea of what's right for her. You will become very clear on what's right for you. Mm-hmm. And it's okay if as you go along, you do something and then you're like, I don't like this.
Yes, it's so okay.
It's okay. Just stop doing it.
Yep. Yes.
Sometimes we find out the discovery by mistakes.
Yes. Yeah. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're going to make a ton of them.
Yeah.
There is a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, I want to say is their name. But it's about like working in your zone of genius. And when we feel this friction and we feel burnout, it's often because we're forcing ourselves to do things that like are not in our wheelhouse. Like bookkeeping. It's something I can do. It's not in my zone of genius at all. My zone of genius is showing up for people and helping them problem solve. So that's another thing to think about as well. Like, what am I doing that is not in my zone of genius? That is not something that like really lights me up. And once I know what those things are, I mean, literally like make lists, love it or leave it. What can I automate, like with a robot or AI, and what needs to be hired out? And can I afford to hire it out right now? And if not, like, okay, so how much do I have to be making to afford to do? Like, make that plan, because that anticipation of doing that is what's going to get you excited. So it's not, I guess for me, like, it's not even the 6 figures. It's just doing what you want to be doing.
Yes.
And you can do that without making 6 figures.
Yes. You can, but also 6 figures will help.
Yes, 1,000%.
I think one of the reasons why people focus on 6 figures is because as somebody who's made not 6 figures and made 6 figures does make business owning much easier.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
I think it just makes, when my business moved to 6 figures, I was like, whew, okay, I now have an income where I am paid comfortably and I have some overhead to do stuff where I don't have to stress as much. Like I have like buffer room that I don't have to worry, whereas I was working on such tiny margins otherwise. Alex, what's your margin life right now?
Well, thankfully for PPP money, I mean, it's exactly it, that like the grants and loans have helped me out, and exactly what you're talking about of being able to breathe and then really think strategically about what I'm doing wouldn't have been possible without that breathing room.
Right.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm like bursting. I'm paid off another credit card yesterday. I know. And because I just was like looking at it and I'm like, this is my highest interest card. Like, let's just take some of this money and just like get it gone, because it'll accelerate the whole process. And those are things like, I guess that's too. Here's my word of wisdom for those of you listening to this who are like, yeah, I'm not making enough to be able to take a 2-3 week long vacation. Make a plan to get yourself out of debt, because I promise you that feeling like you can't keep your head above water starts to lessen as you shed debts from yourself. And I will also just add, if you're like, I'm not making enough, I can't do that. I paid off over $15,000 of debt and saved $2,000 in an emergency fund, making a part-time income. So
you 100% can. It's 100% doable. It's doable. There is always a way to pay off debt, even if it's small amounts at a time. There's always a way, and it's not just like cutting out your Starbucks, because that's not the way to go about it. There's always a way.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I could talk for hours on that too. Cause I have my
okay,
boba all the time.
We're going to have a debt episode at some point.
Yes.
Okay. Cause this is also what I'm really good at. That is 100% my wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So this hopefully has not been too much of a like meandering episode.
No, I think it's important.
Yeah. I think all the things we talked about are important, and so much about tied into worth. Mm-hmm. And know that you are worthy regardless of how much money you're making. Mm-hmm. We've all been there. We've all started at nothing and made something. And I think the final piece of wisdom is to remind you that people are going to talk a lot of shit. So people are going to be like, I'm making this much, but they might not be. It all is built sometimes on lies.
Yeah. Or they're making 6 figures with 5 figures of expenses.
Right. So you never know what is actually going on. Mm-hmm. I know for me that in general, when I was making a ton of money, I didn't really talk about it much. I was just like, I'm just making whatever. The only time it came up is when somebody would be like, well, how are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing fine. And they're like, well, like, how much do you charge for facials? I'm like, this. I'm like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, well, this is the business that we're in. Yeah, this is the business we're in. And how did I do that? By having really low rent.
Yeah.
Really low rent, having really low overhead, and then making lots of money. That's how you do it, by the way. Mm-hmm. That's how you make money.
There's another book called The Millionaire Next Door, I think.
That's a great one.
Yeah, like I too thought like, oh, all the millionaires are like the celebrities, right? We think celebrities are millionaires when really like most of your millionaires drive old cars.
Driving my little Yaris.
Yeah.
Millionaires are people who understand how to save money and not use it. Yes. Otherwise they're like Nick Cage, who are in debt like 4 times. And because millionaires, you have to save your money. Like you utilize it in certain ways, but you have to save it. Yes. Otherwise you don't keep it. You're not a millionaire.
Yes. And then also, okay, here's another book that you need to read since we touched on money. I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. I've mentioned it a million times. I'm reading it again.
It's a great book.
He talks about your rich life. And for me, boba is a part of my rich life.
Yes. Yes. My organic farm meat is part of my rich life. So I understand.
Yes, exactly. It's like, I don't care about the clothes I wear, but like I will have my boba every Sunday.
Which is why I always tell people who are trying to get out of debt, it's not about giving up your Starbucks because it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you unless you've got, so I'm going to tell a personal story about a sushi problem that I had.
I'm so hungry right now.
I had a sushi problem. So as a business owner, I try to run everything through credit cards. A, because I travel hack. So I take all of my points and I do things with them for travel. 2, because it really helps me track my money. Everything goes through a credit card. You're like, definitely know at the end of the year how much you spent on what. Right. And at the end of the year, one year I saw that I had spent like $5,200 on sushi. And I was like, that's bonkers. So, well, you've got quite a sushi habit. And so me being me, I like to set rules. And so I don't say, no, you can't have sushi anymore. But I was like, your rule is you can only have sushi with someone. And so that was the rule. So literally anybody would come over, like, you want to have lunch? I'm like, would you like to have sushi? Can we go to sushi together?
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And so that's been going on for like 5 years now. And so I will tell you, if you ever come and you would like to have lunch with me, I will ask you, would you like to have sushi? Because it's the only time I get to have sushi. Because that is my rule. Otherwise, my sushi habit gets a little out of control.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, that too is just knowing yourself and then setting up the parameters to allow yourself to flourish.
Yeah. So we all have them. Knowing your money, knowing your habits, and then giving yourself rules and boundaries. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the key to success. Boba. Okay, now on that note, I'm freaking starving. I must go eat.
All right. This has been lovely, guys. I hope that I think we've all learned things. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, guys.
So we want to hear from you too. What is your burnout success story, I guess? Like, what about money? Have you been caught in that 6-figure trap and feeling like nothing is good enough unless you have hit that benchmark? Are you there? How'd you get out of it? Like, we want to hear. So you can hit us up on Instagram. The show is at Skinfessional. It's like confessional, but like skin. Like, do you get it? Or you can DM Sybil. She's at Your Skin Fitness Expert. I am at Allah4 for Mala, or you can leave us a wonderful voice message or an answer message, I think is what the Brits call it, on our answer phone. And what is that number in the box?
Dude, I lived in Britain. I didn't know that. 818-473-5277 on our answer box.
That's what they said on I think our answer phone, answer message. It was something like that. I don't know. I was watching, BBC stuff last night.
There you go. So until next week,
keep your secrets to yourself.
Unless you're telling us.
Okay, bye.
Bye.